Wow.
We are live.
All right. Are you good for Audacity?
Yep.
All right. 1, 2, 3, go. Hello, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 125. I'm your host, Jacob Rush, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Black, and we are back and we are playing with Power. Ryan, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, man. It's been a busy week. A little less busy than the previous week, but I've been, I've been getting some gaming in, and I'll definitely talk about that when we're at correcting. But for now, how you doing?
Well, I'm in a predicament because my computer's acting silly and there's lag in my ears right now from my voice, so that throws me off a bit. And I got my son on my lap who just decided to wake up, and mommy's gone, so it's like the perfect storm for our episode today. But we're going to roll with the punches and do the best we can.
It's almost like you're trying to manage a bunch of little things and try to keep them all from killing themselves.
Basically, yeah. Ryan, we're not alone today. We have a very special guest, first time to the show, and he's not your ordinary guest. He is into game developing himself, and he reached out a few months ago that he would love to come onto the show, talk about his game a bit, and he brought a topic as well. We're going to get into that a little later on, but Matt, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, we're glad to have you on. Seriously, it's been a while, but we are finally getting it together. No matter how many waking babies there are. Awesome. Well, guys, this time of the show we don't like to waste any time, so we're going to get into what we have been radical Rexing about. And Matt, since you're our guest, why don't you go ahead, man? What's something new and exciting for you that you've been dealing with lately?
They had the Tetris tournament, didn't they, last week? So that got me back into Tetris 99, which is like this rabbit hole of addiction. I don't know if you two have found that out. So I've been playing that a lot, and I've been also playing the new Yoshi game a little. But that's about it. Between work, that's really all I've had time to play.
You enjoying Yoshi?
Yeah, it's not very hard, but it's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's very clever. It makes me smile. So yeah, I'm enjoying it that way.
I've been seeing some of the arts and crafts they put into it, and it's just really cool the depth that they went in and the details. Yeah. Like to look outside the box and see ordinary crafts as objects you can put in the game and interact with.
Yeah, it's very, very, very clever. And my wife's been playing it a lot as well, and she's a bit further ahead than me. She loves it. So, yeah, enjoying it.
My wife and I have been playing together as well too as of late, and it is just such a cute, charming game. Like it just makes you happy to play it. I guess if your wife is not getting mad at you for something that you did in the game, but in general, it's just fun. It makes you feel happy just to watch it, and that's what the game's really all about. We talked about in our Yoshi story episode a few weeks ago that Yoshi, I don't think the charm is in the challenge of the game. It's in seeing the world that was created for it. And yeah. You can really admire that and really appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, I've found I've really enjoyed the visual side of it and the flip world as well. I thought that was quite clever.
Oh, yeah.
And I found it weird, though, because I don't know if you've discovered this, but if you keep pressing the jump button in the air, you can hover forever if you time it right.
Really?
So, yeah, if you hold the jump button down, he does that little hover at the very top of his jump. Well, if you let go and press it again, it'll do it again, so you can traverse great distances in the air, kind of almost like flying, yeah.
That's really cool.
No.
Yeah, I discovered that by accident. I'm like, oh, that's like a shortcut up to there. So, yeah, you can float forever if you time it right.
Most games, they take that out of there because they don't want you to get to places you're not supposed to be. But that's pretty cool that they left that in there.
Yeah, I thought that was really clever. And then I was watching a YouTube video of somebody else who was playing it. And he's a big Mario Maker player. And he plays on Super Expert, so he can do all these fancy shell jumps. And he was doing them in Yoshi as well. So he was bouncing the shell off the wall, jumping and it getting really high and then gliding forever to take shortcuts. So you can do quite a lot of good stuff in it.
Awesome. I'm so glad they made the game. It definitely scratches like that creative like mind itch and like inspires a lot of people to make games like this. It's something of its own caliber. It doesn't have any comparison that I've seen. Maybe some like Sackboy stuff maybe on PlayStation. You might see some of that with the yarn and stuff, but this is just some other level, and it's so cute.
Yeah, and the bosses are so unique as well, and all the levels. It's every level seems to be different. It's very clever.
So Jacob, what have you been Radical Rexing about?
Oh well, a couple things actually. Today I had some extra money that I made over the week, so I was saving that, and I wanted to use it to buy Cuphead, but I actually think my wife is going to get me Cuphead for Easter tomorrow, so be able to get that then and play it, and then but I did buy my Target Super Target by my work released to yesterday all these lovely amiibo. And I had some extra money. I was able to go over and get Young Link. I don't collect every single amiibo that comes out. I get the ones I want. And that's one I wanted. I did not get Ken or Daisy, and I don't really care to. Watch, I'll become a massive like Street Fighter fan in like 10 years and really want those one day. Then you can't get them. But I wanted Baby Bowser. I never got him last time, and he came out just now and again. And I didn't have the money for him. And my boss is the one who told me that these were over there because he knows I love Nintendo, and he always just goes and checks stuff out. But after a shift, got over this morning. He's like, hey, I want to go treat you to that Baby Bowser. Let's go get it. And I was like, really? Thanks. Okay, so then he bought me Baby Bowser. I didn't have to spend money on it, and I was taking my chances, and I was hoping that maybe in a week or so he'd still be there. I love Amiibo, but the thing I hate about them is it's like basically if you want them, you have to be willing to drop dough on them then and there, no matter what your financial situation is, and I think that really sucks. But in general, though, I'm happy I got these. They're ones I want in my collection, and that's really cool. But besides that, not a ton. I do want to talk about a magazine that Mr. Gary Gray sent us from the Nintendo Village that we can talk about after you're done real quick, Ryan, with what your Radical Correction about. So how about you? What's got you excited as of late?
I've been playing Cuphead and enjoying it a lot. I've waited a long time for this, and it seems practically impossible that this is on Switch. But here it is, and I couldn't have imagined how great it was, even as I wanted to play it. Like now that I'm playing it, it just feels so perfect on the Switch, and I'm so happy about it. It's got a difficulty that I can tolerate pretty well. I'm hoping that I can unlock a harder difficulty later and try for like maybe things sped up a little bit or something for that more of a challenge, because I'm getting through stuff. I'm learning the patterns, but I'd like to try it at another difficulty level, which I think there is another one. I also heard that today that there's a pacifist mode or something. If you do a certain amount of levels in pacifist mode, or you do anything without taking any enemies, you can unlock like a black and white, like classic look to everything, and that's something I'm really looking forward to. I'm a big fan of like Steamboat Willie and Oswald and stuff like that, the black and white cartoon look. So I'm really excited. As far as anything else, I did get those amiibo. I'm happy I got those. I got my Pichu and Pokemon Trainer, and what was the other one? I can't remember the other one, but I've got those ones on pre-order. It was Isabelle, that's right. And then I haven't opened my amiibo yet. I'm hoping to do it soon. My number one, like Musket, was Young Link, but I definitely got the other ones too. So trying to think if there's anything else that I may be forgetting. No, I think that's about it.
Okay. Well, I know Gary sent you this thing as well too, but he sent us a lovely magazine that we got to read ahead of time, and he wanted to talk about it on the show here. And it's a Level Story magazine, and guess what's all over the cover of it, Ryan? I'm pretty sure why he gave it to me.
Let me just guess. It's a bear and a bird.
A bear and a bird. Yes, it's Banjo-Kazooie. It's really awesome. I got to read through it, not from page to page, but most of it, and it's just kind of recapping all about Banjo Kazooie and the story itself, and just kind of the legacy that it's been of a game and why people love it. The artwork for the magazine is phenomenal. I wish I could print it off and put it up as a poster, to be honest, on my wall here, but um, it's something that it takes you down memory lane. It's full of nostalgia and it reminds me why I appreciate the game so much and why I really hope that it comes back to Nintendo one day. And in relation to your Cuphead topics, I did check late last night to see how it was doing on the eShop, and it's the #1 bestseller right now. And I love that because that game, I feel like it's a test. And if it does super well on Nintendo, that's only going to promote more Microsoft games coming over to Nintendo. And I'm full support of that game being on Switch, and I'm going to buy it digitally, and I'm going to buy it physically and get the DLC for it and everything. So I'm hoping that it just leads more to ultimately getting Banjo Kazooie and Rare Replay and stuff over to Nintendo. And I know I'm beating a dead horse with that, but all of our listeners know I want that. But I just think the stars are aligning, and it makes me excited about it. So this magazine only feeds into my obsession, and it is very it's delightful to read about Banjo Kazooie today when they're not as popular to the majority of the world like they used to be back in the late 90s. But did you have a chance to go through the magazine at all? What'd you think of it?
I didn't go through it. No, I downloaded it. I opened it up, like the first page, and then I got distracted from it. And I completely forgot about it. You mentioned about it today. I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to go back and read that. So yeah, I did miss out on reading that, unfortunately.
It's okay. I mean, like I said, it's just recovering what the game is, because like when many people argue why Banjo Kazooie wouldn't be in Smash is that they're not relevant today. That people don't know who they are, as opposed to Steve from Minecraft. And it really just highlights who they are as characters. And for new readers who have not really known them, it definitely gives you a history lesson on the game and their story. So I loved it. And thank you, Gary, for sending us that. It's a charm that I can have this on my phone and my computer. So, but yeah, that's what I've been Radical Correction about. It's really cool to have that stuff. So, but well, Ryan, I think that's really all we're Radical Correction about. I think we need to get into the topic at hand for the day, and it's about a lovely game that, to be honest, I've never played. But it's going to be a good topic nonetheless, because Ryan and Matt have a passion for this game, and it's part of their nostalgia. So I'm ready for you guys to just educate me more about Lemmings. I've done some research on it, but I want to hear from people who've actually played the game and what it's all about. So I think it's fair to say, let's get into some topics about Lemmings.
All right. Lemmings came out 1991. I think it was initially it was a computer debut. Also, it was available on NES. I think it came later to the SNES, but it was a game. I guess to describe it to modern gamers, if you've ever played like Pikmin, it's similar in that aspect where you have like little things that are very fragile and easily get squished or blown up or what have you. But you basically are, in a way, you're kind of commanding these dim-witted troops to get to this goal, to get them home instead of running off of cliffs and stuff. And it's based on the animals. Apparently you can like scare them or something. Like they end up running in the sea in mass together, like following each other. Like they'll all follow each other even over a cliff and stuff. And so someone took this and turned it into a game. Matt, what is your first experience with Lemmings?
Well, it goes back to almost like when it was released in the 8-bit era. And I remember there was nothing really like Lemmings out there. I mean, for starters, you had a cursor that you had to control with the D-pad, which was awkward. but really, just it was like the first experience at like a real-time strategy game in a way, where you've got this little army of men that you've got to get from one side to the other without without them dying, and they're very stupid and they die very easy. But I remember me and my sister used to love it and just trying to see how far we could get, and then forgetting the code for the level and having to start from the beginning. But back to passwords and such.
Mm-hmm. So Lemmings, you can assign them different jobs, and from like blocking to building bridges or inclines, and some even could tear away chunks of the level. Basically, all of the ground that you see can be manipulated, can be blown up. Obviously, you want to have all your lemmings survive, or the most that you can. But sometimes it's just fun when you're frustrated. You know you failed. You just want to blow them all up.
Yeah. Oh, you try and set the timer to blow them up because you've got one of those stop guys that you've got to kill anyway.
Yes.
And you don't want to have to wait for the timer, so you try and set the timer so that they all blow up when the last one moves in, as I used to do, so as to save time. But then you time it wrong and you kill half of them. Yeah.
It's so silly, like the carnage that you can have in this game. And essentially, this is, like you said, like real-time strategy. You're commanding these guys around. You give them jobs to help shepherd everybody to where they need to go. And destructible environments completely just makes it something that's
unknown. Then destructible environments in a game like this. I mean, I'd say one of the first games to have it besides this would have probably been Worms or something, because there's not many.
I like their unique look. They got like the blue shirt and the green hair and like the pinkish skin. They're kind of adorable.
Yeah.
What were the different jobs, if you recall, like what they did for the different things you could assign them to do?
I remember there was the climbing guy, because you always needed generally a parachute with them, because they climb up the wall and then just jump off the cliff. So you needed the parachute. And I remember as well, there was the pickaxe one for digging down but across. And then, of course, you could dig straight down or dig across. There was a self-destruct, which is weird. How a lemming can self-destruct is unknown. There was the stopper guy. And then the last one, I think, was the one who built the ladder, which was infuriating. It was the most irritating ability that there was.
It's like, stop, don't go anymore.
You build the ladder and it gets that high that all the other lemmings just walk off the end and die. Yeah, it used to be irritating.
Hours of hysterical fun.
Yeah, but you used to slow them down. You used to be able to speed them up and slow them down the rate that they'd come out. So you try and make it really slow so that the ladder would be finished in time, but it never was. Or they'd build the ladder the wrong way in a confined space, so you were building the completely wrong way. Yeah,
you have to click them at the right time, otherwise you completely messed it up. But that's the fun of it. Like, if you mess up, you can't just rewind. You just blow up and have to start the whole level over again. But blowing them up is part of the fun. I hate when you have a blocker.
Know that they do before they die.
Yeah, you couldn't. There's the countdown timer from right? Yeah, but you can't really move blockers once you set them to that job. So you have to blow them up. I can't tell you how many times the terrain was thin and I blew up a blocker and it made a hole in the ground and they just all went in the hole. So my first experience with Lemmings was on the PC. It was actually a Christmas themed expansion. I don't know why that was my first experience. I think it's just what my dad had on the system. I remember lots of gingerbread houses and snow and things for the lemmings to dig through. And my mind was kind of blown by that concept that I could command all these little things. And it was also very frustrated as a kid, like say, no, stop, don't go there. And it's kind of fed my hatred for things like Fire Emblem and things like that, where they go and do their own thing and you can't stop them. You have no control over it, even though you commanded them to do stuff. If you told them at the wrong time, then you screwed up everything.
Especially when it was a long level. Because some of the levels later on were really long, and you do one mistake and you've got to do the whole thing again.
And again, like you're managing dimwits, so trying to get them to point the right direction and start doing their action at the right time was no easy task. So you could get all the way to the end of this long level and click one thing wrong, and suddenly you lose everybody.
Yeah.
So was that Christmas thing on the a floppy disk?
Yeah, the Christmas expansion that I had was on a floppy.
Yeah, there's if you look on Wikipedia, there's a thing about called Christmas Lemmings, and it's the Christmas demo. So that's pretty cool that you had that. Honestly, man, that's so archaic. People today don't even know what a floppy disk is.
And then I did go back and play the original Lemmings after the Christmas one. My dad got me that one because I liked the first one so much, or the Christmas one. I guess it wasn't the first one. First one to me, but they didn't do any other expansions. I don't think for any of the systems. Like Super Nintendo didn't do the next one. Do you recall, or did you ever play any of the sequels?
I remember getting it when I got a SNES. I remember enjoying it so much in the 8-bit era that I thought I've got to get it. And I think it was Lemmings 2. I think there was a sequel, but I never found it as quite as good as the first one.
The one I remember was the Tribes one. I can't remember, but they had like themes, like they were different characters. They had special abilities. Like there was one that had like I think a rocket launcher or something. Like they had weapons and stuff. You could use it to blow up the environment more.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to when I used to be able to rent video games, which you can't really do anymore. But I remember the SNES, and I remember renting Lemmings a couple of times trying to get to the end of it. But it was so massive, I don't think I ever did.
Yeah, I definitely never got anywhere near beating any of the games. Like I didn't have the patience for that, but I did enjoy what I played of it. And again, like I said, that told me that, hey, I don't have the patience to command little armies and stuff to play things like Fire Emblem that came after it, the RTS stuff. I think Wargroove is probably the most recent example. But again, it is similar, a little less, I guess, real time, I would say, or a little less, you have a little less control than you would like Pikmin. You can move your Pikmin troops around. So kind of like taking like the idea of Pikmin, make them do their own things, but you can tell each individual Pikmin to do some sort of job. Would we see some kind of mashup someday of the two? That would be kind of cool, or some elements from that. But yeah, that's kind of like what I can compare it to. And then looking back, it was something that has never been done before. It's been copied here and there. Some of the elements definitely, but it's definitely a classic in my book.
So that leads me to a question, actually. Like, why this game? Looking at it, the information, researching it, it clearly was a popular hit. It wasn't like a flash in the pan. According to reports that between 1991 and 2006 had sold over 50 million copies total. And as of 2017, Kotaku had placed the figure at over 20 million of the game. So I guess I have two questions. One, who owns the rights to this game? Because when you look at the developers, I mean, we have Sunsoft, we have Oceansoft, and DMA Design, other people. It's just like, it seems like it was tossed around a lot. But who designed it, and will this come back? I feel like it could be really good and modern, or has it been copied so much by simple games with simple app games, that you can just download on your phone, that people wouldn't know what Lemmings is, and it doesn't separate itself enough to be a living franchise on its own now?
Can you hear me, Jacob? Okay. So originally it was Psygnosis that was the company that did this. They've long been out of business. So when I don't know if they merged or became another company or what. I remember seeing their games in the PC era, early PC era. I don't know. I'm saying early PC era, but I guess it's just my early era. PC's been around a lot longer with their games. But I think that it was passed around a lot because it was such a tried and true formula. There's nothing like it, and so a lot of companies wanted to take their try at it and publish it. And We saw releases on even Game Boy, like in a pocket size, and I can't imagine working with with something small like that on a small screen, trying to navigate all these Lemmings troops.
It literally was on everything as well. It was on Master System, NES, SNES, Mega Drive, Atari, Game Boy. So you name it, it was on it, which is quite unheard of actually nowadays. To be on literally everything.
It's following the footsteps of like Skyrim or Minecraft, or maybe they're following the footsteps of Lemmings.
Yeah, I mean, even the same version was on the SNES that was on the NES. They just rescaled did all the artwork and music and everything to the 16-bit era, but they kept all the same 120 levels that were in the original game.
Now I think I saw that there was like a 3D version. I don't know if they took the same elements or added anything new to it.
I tried 3D version and I didn't get on with it. I think it's a game that really only works in 2D. I think it's just too complex for a 3D world.
So they never actually made a proper sequel to it. Sounds like they just remade it.
Yeah, mainly it was so popular that they just brought it out on all the consoles.
Interesting.
And really, what it amounted to, you got some more puzzles with the, I guess, official sequel, the tribes, and they added some new abilities and jobs and stuff like that, and different themed Lemmings dressed up in different ways. Different tribes of people, if you will. They had like a Rambo-looking character, and I'm trying to think what some of the other like costumes are. I think there was a ninja, if I remember right. But yeah, different like tribes of Lemmings and different themes of the levels. So it took you to different like locales and stuff, but it was pretty much the core gameplay, just brought over with more puzzles. It was a glorified expansion in that respect. Again, I mean, one could argue that there was enough changes, like there's enough changes from Splatoon to Splatoon 2 to warrant it giving it a sequel number. But I think that that they haven't gone forward with this like too much is kind of a mistake. Like especially in like cell phone era, like they're so accessible to play Lemmings. Like why don't we see that? I mean, and it could be on the shop or on the iOS store or whatever. I haven't seen it. But every once in a while I'll poke around and try to find a version of it, and I can't really find it too much anymore. I dare not try to find my parents' old PC and try to play. So on the computer there, it was a different animal with a mouse. I can't imagine using the D-pad, but obviously it worked because it sold really well.
It took some getting used to aiming it.
Was it a slower cursor, so it took a little bit to drag it over to places, or was it pretty fast and you could easily go past your target?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't fast, but it moved faster than the Lemmings, so you could generally keep up with them, other than when they were falling. But if you ever go back to it, because I was playing it today, just before this episode, they don't actually fall that fast. So even then, it's not too bad. You just spam the A button anyway, just trying to assign the job as you're going past, hoping you grab the right one.
Now, when I mean, you got keyboard and keys. It's pretty easy to figure out like how to map things out and transform the different ones to do the different jobs or assign. Now, how was that pulled off in the controller versions of the game?
Yeah, it took me quite a while to figure that out. I'm thinking, what button is it? But basically, you would hold B down, and then using the D-pad allowed you to move left and right on the selection of the jobs, which, if it was time sensitive, was quite awkward because you had to get the cursor to the right place, then hold B down, select the job you wanted, then let go of B, and hopefully press A before he moved out of the area.
Oh, wow.
So I assume when you get to the harder levels, it would have got very hard. But I mean, there was 120, and I don't think I got past 40. So it's
that's a lot of levels, though. I mean, that's got to be great.
Because some of them were rather large levels. So I was thinking that 120, if a game came out with 120 levels now, it'd be classed as a very big game. So. Yeah,
they don't release 10 and charge you money for DLC for every 10 levels they release.
Exactly. I mean, I think it'd work quite well on the Switch because there's quite a lot of these older games coming back out. The Switch seems to be the system to play them on.
For sure.
So,
I mean, heck, if Turok can get re-released today, why couldn't this game?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
Now,
probably more than Torah.
I'd like to see, like, where do we see this game going? Like, how would this game evolve? Do you see this like popping up in VR and trying to control them in a 3D space that way? Do you think it'd work better than the 3D attempts that they made before? Or how do you see this going? Jacob, just from your outside perspective, let's start with you and see, you getting an idea of how to control lemmings. Like, how would you want to control them? And I know RTS isn't your style of game, like Fire Emblem and things like that. So, but like Pikmin, you have that to draw from. So, how would you like to see Lemmings kind of progress?
Well, I mean, maybe it's because I like Pikmin, but I think, adopting something similar to that route would be unique and fun. Take the Lemmings formula and spin some Pikmin with it. I could see it going that route, and I think it would be appealing, especially to people who have an itch for Pikmin. Because Pikmin doesn't get released as regularly as Mario and Zelda does, and I think it'd be a fun game to supplement in there while you wait on a bigger game like Pikmin to come out. Um, I could see you doing that, but I also could see it being, since it came out almost like virtually everything back in the day, I could definitely see them going the route with like it being a touch screen game,
Mhm.
moving things around with your finger. And I mean, heck, Pikmin was pretty touchscreen based for the Wii U on the third one. So, and even the DS version, when it was a more of a 2D platformer, the 3DS one, I could see it being a more of a touchscreen based game. Now, I'm not the biggest touchscreen gamer, but I think it could be unique, and they could utilize the game's capabilities doing it that way. I mean, what do you think?
I think that could work. I could see it as a mobile game, like first and foremost, starting out that way. Um, Especially with there's lots of things you can control, like what is it? The you like manage the different the Fallout game, the Vault game or whatever. You could like you can
Shelter.
move pretty freely around to the different rooms and stuff. So what if you went and played, like you can scroll around really fast to those different areas? What if you had to control multiple areas of Lemmings in an evolution of the series? You know, manage different rooms to keep them from killing themselves, or so they can get to their goal and all get together in a big group and then lead them all to the goal, or something like individual puzzles at a grander level or something. I think that could work, especially in a mobile side of things. um, what about you, Matt? What do you see the series like becoming, or what would you like to see added to the series?
Well, just going on what you said then, I was just thinking you could actually have it that, as you said, that you've got lemmings in different rooms, but there's like objectives that you've got to do in a certain room to unlock a new path in one of the current rooms that you're working on. Like a little bit of teamwork, a bit like in Pikmin actually, where certain Pikmin open up new areas. So I think that'd work quite well. But I still think 2D is the way to go for it.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Purely because like Pikmin works very well, but there's no digging underground with Pikmin, and no, because some of the things that Lemmings do is a bit complex for a 3D world, like digging tunnels and whatnot.
I think you get that experience with Minecraft, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't necessarily need the 3D space, but the 2D space I think would be really good. Now, would you like to see it in like pretty graphics, if you will, like 2.5D, 3D, but in a 2D plane?
I just like really nice artwork. I mean, like if you look at all the Mario generations as being, my favorite one visually is still the Mario World, Super Mario World. I'm not a fan of the new suit 2.5D Mario.
Yeah, neither am I.
No, there's just something about Super Mario World that just looks amazing even now. So like if Lemmings came out with a proper art style, a bit like how Cuphead again is hand drawn and just looks so nice, and there's no fancy 2.5D effects, something like that I'd really like.
Do we know who owns the rights to them right now, or who has Lemmings?
No, I don't.
They probably fell beside the wayside, but I'm kind of curious to see. I can see where they went with that and kind of dig up their heritage. I guess the Signosis or DMA design started in Scotland, so across the pond where you are.
Yeah.
I know that there was a sequel to the game, or not a sequel, a spin-off, a spiritual, well, not really a spiritual successor, but it was called The Adventures of Lomax. And the artwork on it was a PlayStation game. It was still under the Psygnosis emblem. It's like a orb with an owl face on it. But yeah, it has some lemming-looking characters. I have no idea what that game was like, but that came out in '96. So the series doesn't have a lot of entries to it, but what it has had a lot of content and a lot of memories from both of us. And I hope Jacob gets a chance to experience that, especially going into the new generation. I think he'd like it. If nothing else, just getting frustrated and blowing them all up and letting some steam off.
Yeah. Here's what's going to happen. Matt is a video game designer, and Matt is going to get the license to Lemmings, and he's going to make another Lemmings game.
That would be cool.
Or if he can't get the license, he's going to make a spiritual successor to Lemmings, and we're going to get it through Matt's eyes.
I'd play that. I would really play that.
I mean, it's like Sonic Mania. You're a fan of that series is making the game, So if anyone better to do it, who better than Matt?
That would
You
be
up for the task?
Oh, if I could, I would definitely. Yeah, I've got very fond memories of this. I've actually thought about it before. It's just you realise how complex a game it is. It's very impressive that they got this to run on the NES. To be honest,
Yeah,
with the technology at the time, very impressive.
Now, they've had a couple. I see that there's a paintball Lemmings. That sounds kind of interesting to me.
I think they just use the name a lot for a lot of different things that aren't necessarily Lemmings.
Yeah. Oh, I do remember there was an Oh No, More Lemmings. I remember hearing of that, but I never really looked into it or played it or anything like that. So,
well, the SNES version of Lemmings, when the little guys would blow up, they used to use the catchphrase "Oh no" in this really high-pitched voice. So that's where the "Oh no's" come from for the sequels. Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't have any speakers growing up on my PC, so I had no idea if they made any sound or music or anything.
only when they blow up, they would use the catchphrase "Oh no."
That's adorable.
So you used to feel sorry for them as you're sending them all to their death.
Wow. Well, Ryan, I think this is a good way to segue. Matt's on the show not only because he brought Lemmings to the table, but because Matt's also a game designer himself. And he gave Ryan and I some codes for his game, Old School Racer 2. And we, again, thank you for that, Matt. We've been enjoying it and testing it out. But I would love to just shine the spotlight on you now and just tell us about your game and the progress that you've made with it and anyone you want our listeners to know about it.
Well, it's very basically, it's a 2D motorbike game. Many years ago when I was at college studying computing, there was a little game for the PC called Elastomania, and it was a little free game that you could play, and that was a little motorbike game. And then when I started really getting into games development, me and my mate we were messing with ideas, and we just threw this concept together of a little motorbike racer, and it worked really well. It was really fun. So we initially released that back 10 years ago now for the Xbox 360, and that was the original Old School Racer. And then, let me think now, about 6 years ago, I got contacted by somebody from Microsoft who was checking out the Windows App Store because I'd released it there, and they'd spotted another game I'd made, and they wanted me to make a game for them. So I got funded to make Old School Racer 2, and that was about 5 years ago. And then I was toying with the idea of releasing it on the Switch, and didn't particularly think I'd be able to get anywhere. So I sent the pitch to Nintendo, and they were like, "Yeah, you can build it." They literally got back to me within 3 days and said, "Yeah, you can be a developer." So I found my old code. I had a look at it, and then realized that there was a lot of things I needed to change on it because it wasn't as good as I remembered. So what I thought was going to be a quick port to the Switch ended up being a 9-month job of redesigning half the game. But it's definitely been for its benefit.
What was it like developing for the Switch?
Interesting. purely because it's not got native. The language I program in is C#, and it doesn't have native C# support. So I had to use other programs in order to get my code on it. But once I actually had a build running on there, for the most part, it was pretty smooth going. Just a few hiccups here and there. But I was surprised by the power of the Switch as well, because I've developed for mobile before and I've had to knock things back, but I could literally add loads of stuff to the Switch version and it still ran fine.
That's awesome to hear. Now, this kind of lays the groundwork for you. I mean, it's an opportunity to put on the Switch, but also it challenges you to do different things and get better at your coding and really like explore your future of gaming and game building. So it's definitely awesome that you got that opportunity, and I'm glad that Nintendo is backing indie developers and getting them started and getting them on their way to making bigger and greater games, and that's really cool. Anything you can share with us that you have like brainstorming? Or you're going to keep it all under wraps for now?
No, I've got one thing, because I've got an update for Old School Racer coming out in the next month or so, and then after that I've been working on. It's a bit of a weird thing, but basically some of my favorite games are like Mario and Paper Mario. I remember the one for the N64 just being blown away with that.
Yeah.
So I want to come up with some hybrid of a 2D platformer, but that has this story like that Paper Mario had. So I've got some ideas that I'm running with at the moment. So that's my plan for now.
That's fascinating.
I definitely prefer the 2D art style, the 2D look of a game versus 3D, because when you're working on your own on something, if you're going to do 3D, you've really got to put a lot of work in it. Otherwise, it just looks shoddy.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see a lot of 3D stuff that's done by an indie developer, and unless there's a fairly big team behind it, or they're exceptionally good, it looks quite cheap. Whereas 2D, as a small developer, you can make much more impressive looking games. So for my next idea, which is this hash of a load of classic games, my basic character is going to be a little robot that's got a mine that he's got to investigate why this mine isn't responding. Basically, as he solves puzzles to get further down this mine and meets other characters, he discovers that something weird's going off at the bottom, and he's got to investigate and try and solve the mystery of it. So that's my rough premise that I'm working on.
I like it. And keep us posted for sure. The more development you get into that, I would love to explore that with you. It sounds really fun and fascinating and has a lot of potential. I can say with Old School Racer 2, from the little time that I have spent with it, I think it fits the Switch really well, because it's not a task where I have to put hours after hours into it. It's really easy to pick up and go and play through a level and try to complete my tasks within short burst periods, which the Switch is really known for. So Ryan, have you had similar experiences with that?
Yes, and I've had so many laugh out loud moments where I, hit my head on something and wiped them out, or didn't angle it just quite right. I love the physics in it; it's so funny. Probably just speaks to how terrible of a gamer I am, but it's a lot of fun to try to figure it out and master it and get those angles right for landing and everything, and just learning the mechanics of speeding up at the right times and learning the levels. I really enjoy it a lot. I like the kind of like going backward and forward and doing the ramps. Again, just it's all about getting that angle just right and that speed just right to hit the things that you need. So
for sure,
I'm more of the completionist type person, like collectathon, things like that. I'm less of the time trial-y person.
Yeah.
So I've been enjoying it going at a slower pace, and then eventually, like, I'll get the itch to like go through it at a faster time. But my first and foremost goal is to collect everything that I can. So there definitely has some of that there. So
well, there's 177 tokens to collect, so you can keep you busy.
Yes.
Well, if you listen to the show, I love collectathons. Big rare fan of Platonic here. So, well, Matt, why don't you tell everybody where people can find you, Twitter, Facebook, and find your game?
Yes. Well, you can. Well, there's the website, which is riddlesoftgames.co.uk. That's generally where you'll find all the latest news and everything. And then for Twitter, it's Mattel Kim at riddlesoftgames. And as for Facebook and Instagram, the guy who does all the art for me is in the process of setting all that up. So that should be up at some point.
Awesome. I thank you so much for coming on the show. I know we've been emailing back and forth forever. And I'm so glad that you could come on the show and tell us about your game and a little bit of what you're doing, looking at in the future. And I know we correspond mostly for emailing back and forth. So I look forward to future emails where we can talk about nostalgia for different games. And I thank you so much for being on here.
And thank you for having me on. I've been listening to you for quite a while now. So it's very happy to be on the show with you.
We appreciate it, man. We're glad to have you.
You're definitely welcome to come on in future episodes.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, guys, that brings us to the end of the show. You can find us at Nintendo Village, nintendovillage.com/Nintendo Nostalgia. You can listen to the podcast version, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Nintendo NOS, on our Twitter at Nintendo_NOS. Shoot us an email at nintendonostalgiain@gmail.com. You can find us on our YouTube and watch us live here, and then also on our Instagram at Nintendo NOSIN. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Lemmings, and we will see you next week. Later.
Have a blessed one.
See you later.